This is not rumor, this is an unfolding crisis. Sources allege millions of dollars tied to Prince Harry cannot be accounted for, and at the same time, Meghan Markle is reported to have abruptly left the United States on a one-way international flight. Silence from all sides. Questions everywhere. And insiders warning this could explode at any moment. An extraordinary set of allegations is rapidly unfolding around Meghan Markle, following claims from multiple sources that millions of dollars linked to the Sussex household are unaccounted for. Claims that surfaced just as the Duchess of Sussex allegedly left the United States on a sudden one-way international flight. According to individuals with direct knowledge of the situation, Prince Harry privately raised urgent concerns after discovering what he believed to be a serious financial irregularity involving accounts connected to his personal and professional affairs. The figure being discussed internally, sources say, is approximately $12 million. Within hours of those concerns being escalated, Meghan Markle was allegedly sighted at Los Angeles International Airport, preparing to depart the country, fueling intense speculation and prompting behind-the-scenes scrutiny from financial and legal advisors. No charges have been filed. No public accusation has been formally made by authorities. However, the convergence of the alleged missing funds and the reported international departure has ignited what insiders describe as a crisis moment for the Sussexes, one that has already triggered emergency consultations across multiple jurisdictions. Sources emphasize that the issue is not merely the amount involved, but the timing. The problem, one individual familiar with the internal discussion said, is that the discrepancy was flagged and then there was immediate international movement. That combination raises red flags, whether justified or not. Multiple witnesses independently reported seeing a woman identified as Meghan Markle inside a secured international terminal at LAX late at night. According to those accounts, the travel was not routine. Observers described heightened privacy measures, a compressed timeline, and an unusually large volume of luggage for a single traveler. Aviation personnel, speaking anonymously due to the sensitivity of the matter, said the departure stood out from standard high-profile celebrity travel. "This didn't look like a vacation," one source said. "It looked like a relocation." Adding to the intensity of the situation are claims, still unverified, that additional screening procedures were observed in nearby baggage areas during the same timeframe. K-9 units were reportedly present in restricted zones of the terminal. Security experts stress that such measures can be entirely routine and unrelated, but acknowledge that the optics, given the surrounding allegations, are deeply problematic. Financial analysts say that once Prince Harry raised concerns internally, the matter would have automatically entered a documentation and reconciliation phase. At that stage, advisors would seek to determine whether the missing funds were the result of delayed transfers, authorized expenditures, accounting errors, or something more serious. Until that process is complete, silence is often advised. That silence has been total. Buckingham Palace has declined to comment. Archewell has issued no statement. Legal representatives for the Sussexes have remained silent. U.S. authorities have neither confirmed nor denied the existence of any inquiry. The absence of public clarification has only intensified speculation, particularly regarding the reported destination. Dubai. While experts caution against drawing conclusions from travel alone, they acknowledge that sudden one-way international travel during an unresolved financial dispute inevitably attracts scrutiny. "This is how situations spiral," said one international compliance advisor. Not because guilt is established, but because questions remain unanswered. Royal observers note that this episode marks a sharp departure from past Sussex controversies, which largely revolved around media disputes and personal grievances. This time, the focus is on money, accountability, and movement, areas where narratives are harder to control and consequences can be far more serious. Privately, sources say advisors are urgently attempting to contain the fallout. There is growing concern that if the allegations are not addressed quickly and transparently, the reputational damage could become permanent, regardless of the ultimate findings. For now, the situation remains unresolved. What is clear is that a line has been crossed from rumor into sustained allegation, and from public relations challenges into a matter that insiders describe as structural. As one source put it bluntly, this doesn't go away by ignoring it. Behind the scenes, the reaction to the allegations has been far more intense than the public silence suggests. Individuals familiar with internal discussions say that once concerns about the unaccounted funds were raised, advisors moved quickly to contain what they viewed as a rapidly escalating risk, not only financial, but institutional and reputational. According to sources with knowledge of the situation, Prince Harry's concerns were not initially framed as an accusation, but as an urgent request for clarification. The issue, they say, emerged during a review of recent financial activity tied to accounts associated with Sussex-related operations, including security, media projects, and third-party contracts. What reportedly alarmed advisors was not a single transaction, but a pattern of movement that did not immediately reconcile with existing documentation. When standard explanations failed to immediately resolve the discrepancy, the matter was elevated. At that stage, multiple advisors were brought in, including financial compliance specialists and legal consultants experienced in cross-border asset review. These professionals are typically tasked with one objective: establish whether funds were moved with authorization, misallocated through error, or improperly accessed. It was during this sensitive window, sources allege, that Meghan Markle's sudden international travel plans came to light. Several individuals familiar with aviation booking procedures for high-profile clients claim the itinerary was arranged with unusual urgency. One industry source described the booking as compressed, noting that one-way international flights of this nature are typically associated with long-term stays rather than short visits. The absence of a return flight, according to the source, immediately stood out. At LAX, airport personnel reportedly took note. While celebrities travel discreetly every day, staff members say this departure drew attention due to its timing and scale. Witnesses independently described multiple large suitcases, last-minute coordination with airline representatives, and private security maintaining a tight perimeter. Again, none of these elements alone would be extraordinary, but together they formed a picture that observers found difficult to ignore. As a word of the alleged departure began circulating among industry insiders, it reached financial and legal circles already grappling with the unresolved account questions. Several sources say this is where concern hardened into alarm. Movement matters, one compliance advisor explained. When money questions exist and a key individual crosses borders, every advisor involved becomes nervous. Despite widespread online claims, no authority has publicly stated that Meghan Markle was stopped, questioned, or detained at the airport. No official agency has confirmed the existence of any investigation. However, experts stress that in cases involving complex finances, scrutiny often begins quietly and informally, long before any public action is taken. Meanwhile, within royal-adjacent networks, the reaction has been described as stunned. Although Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are no longer working members of the royal family, their financial and reputational footprint remains deeply intertwined with royal institutions, charities, and international partners. Any suggestion of impropriety, even unproven, carries ripple effects. Several royal watchers point out that this episode differs sharply from past controversies. Previous disputes centered on media narratives, personal grievances, or public perception. This situation, by contrast, revolves around documentation, timelines, and accountability. These are areas where emotion offers little protection. The choice of Dubai as the reported destination has only intensified scrutiny. International finance experts emphasize that Dubai is a global hub for legitimate business and philanthropy. Nevertheless, they acknowledge that it is also a jurisdiction that draws heightened attention during periods of financial uncertainty, particularly when large sums and cross-border accounts are involved. Legal analysts say that if the discrepancy remains unresolved, advisors may be compelled to take additional steps, including forensic accounting reviews and formal internal reporting. Such measures do not imply guilt, but they do mark a significant escalation. Once initiated, these processes are difficult to halt quietly. At the same time, pressure is mounting on the Sussex camp to respond. Crisis management specialists note that silence, while sometimes strategically sound, becomes increasingly risky as allegations harden in the public consciousness. There comes a point, one consultant said, where saying nothing causes more damage than saying something imperfect. Inside media organizations, editors continue to debate whether and when to move beyond cautious reporting. Several outlets are said to be waiting for confirmation of one key element: whether the alleged financial discrepancy has been formally documented. If so, the story could shift overnight from speculative to unavoidable. As of now, all parties remain silent, but sources close to the situation warn that this phase cannot last indefinitely. Financial questions demand answers, and unanswered questions invite escalation. What happens next may depend on whether the funds in question can be promptly accounted for, and whether Meghan Markle's reported travel proves to be routine or something more consequential. Either way, advisors privately concede that the situation has reached a critical juncture. This is the moment, one source said, where things either get cleared up quickly or they spiral. And with each passing hour without clarification, the pressure continues to build. As the situation edges closer to what advisors privately describe as a point of no return, attention has shifted to what happens if the financial questions remain unresolved. According to individuals familiar with high-level compliance procedures, unresolved discrepancies of this magnitude do not simply fade away. They trigger processes that are methodical, documentation-heavy, and, once initiated, extremely difficult to contain. Sources say the first internal step, already underway according to those briefed, is a comprehensive reconciliation of recent transactions. This involves reconstructing timelines, reviewing authorizations, and determining who had access to which accounts at specific moments. The goal at this stage is not to assign blame, but to establish facts. However, advisors acknowledge that once a discrepancy cannot be reconciled internally, escalation becomes unavoidable. That escalation can take several forms. One pathway involves external forensic accountants, whose role is to independently verify findings and assess whether irregularities stem from error, miscommunication, or unauthorized activity. Another pathway involves legal counsel advising on disclosure obligations, particularly if any accounts intersect with corporate entities, charitable organizations, or contractual partners. Insiders stress that the involvement of third parties dramatically raises the stakes. At that point, the matter extends beyond personal finances and into institutional responsibility. Several sources say this is precisely why advisors are pushing for rapid clarification before additional parties are pulled into the review. Amid this pressure, Meghan Markle's reported absence from the United States has taken on heightened significance. While no official confirmation of her location has been issued, multiple individuals with knowledge of the situation say her sudden departure complicated efforts to quickly resolve outstanding questions. In sensitive financial reviews, proximity matters. Access to documents, devices, and direct communication can significantly accelerate resolution. Distance slows everything down. Legal analysts say this is one reason international movement during unresolved financial disputes often attracts attention. It doesn't prove anything, one analyst noted, but it changes the mechanics of how issues get resolved, and that alone raises concern. Within royal-adjacent circles, there is growing anxiety about collateral damage. Even though the Sussexes operate independently of the monarchy, their public identity remains inseparable from the institution they left behind. Any sustained allegation involving finances risks casting a shadow over charities, partners, and initiatives that have no direct connection to the dispute itself. Several senior figures familiar with royal crisis management say they are watching developments closely. While Buckingham Palace has no formal role, reputational spillover is a constant concern. One former palace aide described the situation as radioactive, explaining that even unfounded claims can inflict long-term harm if left unanswered. Meanwhile, pressure is mounting for a public response. Crisis communication experts say there is a narrowing window in which a clear, documented explanation could still halt escalation. Once forensic reviews expand or external parties become involved, the narrative often slips out of the subject's control. Inside media organizations, preparations are quietly being made. Editors and legal teams are reportedly drafting contingency coverage, ready to move quickly if confirmation emerges that the financial discrepancy has been formally logged or that additional steps have been taken behind the scenes. Several journalists describe the atmosphere as tense, noting that few want to be first, but no one wants to be last. digital speculation continues to race ahead of verified reporting, blurring the line between allegation and assumption. Media ethicists warn that this environment creates a dangerous feedback loop, where silence fuels rumor and rumor increases pressure for action. For Prince Harry, sources say the moment is deeply personal. Raising concerns about finances tied to one's own household is not a step taken lightly. Advisors suggest that his decision to do so underscores the seriousness with which the issue is being treated internally. Whether those concerns ultimately prove justified or resolvable remains an open question. What is no longer in doubt is that the situation has crossed a threshold. It is no longer a matter of isolated claims or fleeting gossip. It has become a sustained inquiry, informal for now, but inching toward formal mechanisms with each passing day. As of this writing, no statements have been issued, no documents have been released, no authorities have spoken publicly. Yet the machinery behind the scenes continues to turn. Experts say the next development will be decisive. Either the funds in question will be fully accounted for, allowing the story to de-escalate, or the lack of resolution will compel further action, drawing in additional scrutiny and potentially reshaping the public understanding of the Sussexes' post-royal life. In moments like this, perception and reality begin to converge.